Hello, and welcome to Jarviskjir Mind Over Matter Chapter 3. It's a whole new chapter, which is why for a short period it played some like ukulele music. It's a celebratory ukulele, very popular tradition in the Underrealm, and it's just
taking up ukulele.
That's ridiculous. She's so big, and they're so small.
She just needs a giant ukulele.
You mean a guitar?
Yeah. At a certain point, it's all messed up. What we're doing here is chapter 3. We kind of thought we might, take a break, do some other stuff, but we just want to get right back into it. It is just these two for now, but maybe there'll be some special guests later on. Maybe I can do the same thing we did with Jaken and go, hey, do you want to join for a couple of sessions? And then just...
Special guest for like an entire season and a half.
Poor Jake and our indentured servants. We roped him in and then we didn't let him go.
It was a great situation of the, okay, I'm gonna write this potential like side story thing for this character. Oh, that's just the main plot now, I guess. Which is pretty fun. And obviously has gone some ways that nobody expected. This session will deal, of course, with the aftermath of Chapter 2. So if you're here and you didn't watch the end of that and you kind of want to know you don't want to be spoiled, go back and check out that finale episode now. I won't mind. And now I'm going to spoil a little. So, you... working together, fought your way through King Skarhane Kolgard's castle with an allied army. You fought your way out of the dungeons, through the king's palace, only for Bogdan to be quite unmatched when actually facing Skarhane in a 1-on-1 battle. Not completely willing to give up honor. You tried, but it became very clear, and clear to Bogdan as well, that he wasn't winning that, not without some dirty tactics. And so dirty tactics were used. Particularly...
I shall regret everything.
I mean, a lot of things happen very quickly in the moment, right?
Exactly. This is all going to come out, yes.
In the moment, the only play left for Bogdan was to beg for aid from the Lich Lithura. The very reason that Bogdan convinced you two that he should go after the throne was to take the throne and be able to lead the dwarves against Lithura in time. For it seems that none of the forces in the Underrealm are concerned about this Lich, and none of them are showing any kind of opposition at all. Only in those last moments, Bogdan actually sided with Lithura and begged for Lithura's aid. You've Ashal using this shard of her essence that he still had, and basically giving that to Lithura in return for killing Skarhane. The only thing is that Bogdan was already down on the ground as well. And Oshun, in the heat of the moment, seeing everything that happened seeing that Bogdan just betrayed them to Lithura, chose to use this moment to slay Bogdan.
And I would do it again too.
Oh, no.
Oh god, Ashal's terrified for their life now.
What was it? What's the Witch of the West's voice? My pretties.
A word for you meddling kids.
That's it. Wait, that's Scooby.
That's not the Witch of the West. The pair of you had to flee, leaving everyone behind, as the deep dwarf city of Abanir is now... who knows what's going to happen, with both the king and the pretender to the king gone.
Yeah, but which one's which?
Well, it depends who you asks. The pair of you, well, basically Oshun led Ashal away, and have now had to go into exile, leaving the Wall of Abanar and heading east. It was the easiest way to go, with walls in every which other direction, or going south into more Dwarven territory. The way out of the Dwarven territory was straight east, and that's where you've gone. Trekking overland in Escape with no real chance to discuss what has happened in the rush to leave Dwarven territory. And now you are, in some ways, beyond it. Yes, it's entirely possible for some kind of Dwarven hunters to track you down, but would they? I don't really know. The area you're in now is just south of the Roots and is east of the Dwarven lands. It's rough-hewn stone caverns like the rest of the Underrealm. It's still the very end of the wet season, so there's still trickling rains from the clouds up above that occasionally block out the aether light. There are great menhirs of stone that rise up. There are deep blue mycelial grasses that form in certain areas, giving a very low but coloured glow. And in some places you can see massive, almost like stone roots from an area called the Roots to the north that kind of curve and shape this whole area up, throwing stone but then reforms due to the rain and all of that. But one thing's very clear: this area is not touched by dwarf, elf, or ebomari, or gnome, or anything. It is essentially empty space, which means you have a lot of time to take your time to camp, to plan, to work out where exactly you want to go next.
Is it spoopy? Is it adequately late Halloween?
It's a little late Halloween. I mean, you've got the blue light coming from below everywhere here. You've got the heavy rain.
Oh, I love a good rain.
Yeah, it's just starting. The rains are just starting to kind of trickle out and end, so it's quite heavy but not horrendous, and it's starting to get cold. Because the cold season will start soon.
Shoot.
Do you guys want to set up a camp and find somewhere out of the rain to rest for a little while?
Yep. I'm gonna look for... Well, I mean, this is already off the beaten path, but it's going to look for even more off the beaten path, the sort of places that Ashal would be. Yep.
Shall we stop for the night? Or do you want to keep going and find a cave?
It is best when in lands like these to ensure adequate safety. Stop well in advance of when we actually need to.
That is an excellent plan. I got firewood the other night, but if you would like me to, I'm happy to go get some...
No, I am accustomed to places like this. It will be better if I do so. Make sure not to move too far. You can get twisted around very easily in the wilds out here.
All right.
And do not let your guard down. That is wild out here. Inhabitants are rarely friendly.
Ocean will unsheath a dagger and have bear in the other arm.
Ashal will make a slow nod, like the tentacles moving very slowly, and despondently, but still maintaining a guard. They're used to this sort of thing. Will start floating through the undergrowth, looking for things to burn and set up camp with.
Am I picking up on Ashal's mood very much?
That's up to you.
Like
but-
Ashal.
I think I should like.
Ashal
Go
has
first,
been Ashal has been very apathetic since the escape. But I think they've had a veneer of like
Competence.
because this is sort of Ashal's environment, and they know how to survive even in depression and such. Like they know they have to keep moving. They know what they need to do. You would still, I think, pick up fairly easily that Ashal is, at the very least, conflicted. At the very least, you can certainly get that without a roll.
I think
And you're
when
not. It's not like
Ashal-
you're psychically connected right now.
No,
Yeah.
Ashal
Which is a
has
big
not
tell.
connected. Ashal has not connected the telepathy since the whole
Leaving
thing
the
with
castle.
gang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're out of sight, Oshun's probably just gonna like stick the knife in the ground and like put her head in her hands and just sort of like look down at the baby and just sort of like watch little pudgy hands.
Yeah, the baby is very animated nowadays.
Oh shit.
Not to the point of getting up and moving around and doing a little dance, but just he's wiggly.
A wiggly baby.
He doesn't know anything of what's going on. He's just a baby. You can also,
as far as we know,
as far as you know, as well as this, like Ashal can easily find you that safe place to kind of camp out. Like you said, Ashal, it's not like this place has roads, but there are paths that most trackers and people would use. And especially considering levitation and big size, you could easily get kind of up and away somewhere on one of the side of the caverns, and find a safe place to kind of nestle. It has been several days since you left. When you're sitting down in this little spot to camp, Ocean, you kind of move your things around, and for quite a while now, you've been wearing a dwarven symbol on your hip of the voice in the walls. And when you put your hand upon it as you're kind of like moving your belt or something to the side, it burns.
Oh shit. Oh no.
she angry.
I think Oshun would note this and like Oshun will pick up the symbol and like hold it and focus on it and listen for the voice, I suppose.
You are going to take 4 radiant damage. You hear
Okay.
nothing, you feel pain.
Oshun will say, I
You
understand.
would be full health and spells.
Yeah. I cannot hope to make amends for what I've done. I can only hope that one day you might understand that perhaps it may have been a worse fate for your prize companion to have succumbed to the will of a lich. And gonna place it back on her hip.
Is this it while Ashal is in the camp as well?
I think you
Yeah.
no. I think you will have been like getting firewood. I don't think she would mention the fucking
Okay.
murder in front of you.
Maybe
Fair
you're
enough.
coming back while you're
Oh,
putting it away.
yeah.
And Ocean's hand is visibly not like blistering, bubbling burnt. This is radiant damage. It's like it's visibly injured and abrased.
As Charles would, there would definitely be a moment that if Oshun is attentive, as Charles clearly looks at it for a moment, then doesn't say anything and goes to sit down, which I did just have a random thought on it. Considering that Ebimari float, do they sit down normally, or can they
think
float?
You gotta
through?
put your butt on something over here.
There is a psychic effort put into floating, so I imagine sitting is still necessary sometimes. I think it's probably cross-legged most of the time.
I just imagine you going to sit, you fucking break your hip.
But yeah, you'd have to hover down like a little spaceship. But luckily, in this little cave mouth you're in, there are some large stones big enough to sit upon.
Yeah, as Charles would, after that moment's pause, would get the fire going, and then we'll sit down, and we'll, without saying anything, will, as they have done regularly, like when camping the last few days, we'll pull the locket that's round their neck that was from Zahal out and just stare at it, or the way, and you can almost sense from you've seen Ashal focused on magical things. This is almost like Ashal willing the secrets from this thing.
The locket from Zahal, the chronomancy locket, keeps on ticking at a very regular pace, which is actually weird for it. And that heart that was ticking down before seems to have stopped. But the regular... right now it's functioning almost like a regular clock. Which is something.
Is that the gift from the Chronomancer?
Yes. It potentially holds valuable secrets, things I would know, but I am at a loss how to extract them. I had assumed that the countdown would reveal all, but that does not appear to be the case.
Do you seek knowledge of chronomancy?
I sought knowledge of magics, chronomancy among them. Now, chronomancy is a particular focus, yes.
I think Oshun might infer, to take a few steps back. But, yeah. Is that the path that you would prefer to choose? Would you seek libraries or experts?
I am not sure if there are any libraries in the Underground that would have me now. And if there were, I doubt we would find knowledge of chronomancy. It is esoteric and dangerous. Happening upon Zahal was fortuitous. And I only wish I knew what to do with this gift.
I'm sure chronomancers have made it child's play for mysterious and enigmatic gifts to reveal themselves at opportune times. Tell me, what do you feel is this country's attitude towards the Lich?
Which country? We are between Abanar and Ebimara. The dwarves or my people. My people.
Whoever is our current concern, I suppose.
Well, I intend to travel to Rangerfirth, which is within or was formerly a place of my people. It is still within our lands.
Wasn't that the place that we passed on our journey here? Where we met, the place that had been...
No, we went the opposite way. Rangerfirth is a dead city destroyed by my people's folly. And it was always where I intended to go after Bogdan, and whatever happened in Abanar, there is death there and power. I had thought it might reveal secrets of the fell plane, of Uhaga, and possibly those secrets could be used against the Lich.
Against the Lich, I agree.
But
However,
you asked me a question and I did not answer it. I apologize. Ebimaro. Oakshire speaks for Ebimaro. She is the voice of the song, I suppose. And she has made it clear she is concerned, opposed to Lethura.
we may yet have allies.
We eliminated one of her pawns in Bogdan. We thrust Abanar into chaos, and we did not complete the task she asked of us to investigate the cult of the Undersun. I do not think we will find any allegiance in Ebimara.
I've been wondering as we've made our way deeper into the forest. I think Oshun will glance at the baby and sort of take up the dagger that's been sort of in the ground and like draw a line between Oshun and Ashal, a small circle on Ashal's side, a small circle on Oshun's side, and a line between them.
What, having picked up the baby?
Oh, she's still holding the
still.
child.
Ashal would, like, still, and the tentacles stop moving as they've been very slowly, like, and would, like, there's a bit of eye narrowing at Oshun. Would very begrudgingly extend telepathy.
Yes.
The moment it connects, you get just like a wave of apathy and pain and just a whole, like, basically a depression in like a multitude of its forms, and sort of and very much a resignation and just a tiredness. It's smothered within like a second or two, but there's still like it's almost like connecting with a void even after that. Like it's very empty and deep.
Oshun will like stab the knife back into the ground and start like eating some rations as though there's like a lull in the conversation, and over the telepathy, Oshun will say, "Try not to react. Might we seek allies where no lich may predict we seek allies?"
As Charlotte is very practiced at not reacting.
Repress.
Very much the natural state of an Evamari.
Yes.
Not even a...
No, as Charlotte goes back to looking at the locket, but will respond telepathically. Where would you have us search for allies that could stand against a lich?
Might we not seek out those who might be sympathetic on the surface?
You mean the devil in gold?
Good lord. Perhaps not one so extreme, although his... No, not even for that power. With that much devastation, I would not trust someone like that.
Do you know much of the surface?
No. However, I have had some curiosity as to how my gifts would interact with beings such as them, and what that might mean. Yes, they are our enemy, and perhaps altogether different to us. But what would that mean if I could not feel maternity towards them? What would it mean if I could feel maternity towards them?
I do not know much more of the surface than you, but I am given to believe that we would be killed on sight.
The Lich did not kill us on sight.
The Lich was not fearful of our entire people and existence. The Lich sees us as little more than amusing diversions. To the people on the surface, we are probably boogeymen. I have spells that can disguise myself. I could potentially pass among them to a limited degree. I do not know how their society works. I doubt that, well, I suppose it depends on how familiar with magic their people are. If it is prevalent, then they might detect me easily. You, however, I do not think there is, unless you are hiding spells and magics that can change your form, I do not think there is much hiding what you are.
I have gone amongst many realms, unable to hide what I am.
And what you are would get you killed on the surface, of that I have no doubt. It is... I would hesitate to say it is impossible, because hell knows we need allies if we are to stand any chance against LoFiJoeToons. And there is evidence that at least some of those on the surface consider her a threat, given the fact that that they sent killers after her previously.
A common enemy might yet overpower fear of the unknown. It is just but a thought. We can still give it more time.
I do not think it is necessarily a bad thought. The enemy of my enemy is my friend and all that, although more
Did you
likely...
just make that up? That's amazing. We should write that down. Make it saying.
More likely, the enemy of my enemy will put a knife in my back the second we kill our mutual enemy, but... At least, well, the difficulty is not, I think, in persuading. If we, the issue comes before persuading the surface, the devil in gold, whoever sent him, that LaFleur is still down here and is still a threat. The issue comes before that. If we cannot communicate with them because we are killed on sight, then it is moot. I think perhaps if we could find a way to communicate with them, it is not the worst plan ever. They might be interested to know that LaFleur has returned.
Might we find things in the wreckage?
Who knows what we would find up there?
Would we find something that might bring you some sense of joy, fulfillment?
Joy. That has not been something I've felt in a long time. You can almost tell, like the physical, Charles' physical voice that is much like that. Obviously, is a lot harder for them to speak. Is almost bleeding into the telepathy.
The baby in Ocean's arms is wiggling and reaching out to Ashal.
Wiggle, wiggle! Do you want to hold the baby?
Ashal spends a good few seconds just looking at the baby.
The baby just smiles and opens his mouth, and just a little bit of bleh comes out.
I think Ashal would not take the baby, would certainly not take the baby, but would maybe just reach out a hand, just for the baby to grab, potentially.
The baby's gonna grab fingers and start pulling and
digging those baby nails.
Digging those baby nails.
There's barely a reaction from Ashal, and either way. I have not felt joy in a long time.
I think Ocean will say aloud, he likes you. I have been thinking of calling him an ancient word for the gift. Yet I do not want to rob him of agency. Yet more things to ponder on.
I do not know the naming conventions of your people,
Well,
nor what is appropriate for a child. I was never a child myself, and
when we name,
my people.
We wait until the personality of the infant begets naming. And some personality is beginning to show, yet names do not seem to fit just yet. So I will wait until he shows more curiosity in the world and gravitates to whatever captures his attention.
If he's anything like his other parent, that probably involves betrayal, death, and doom.
Ashal, assuming the intentions of an infant is rudimentary in its misunderstanding.
You are surprised by this from a people who do not have children.
Well, let me outline one thing for you, and hopefully it will bring you some hope in other beings. One is not locked into the course of one's birth. There are things that are packaged within our bodies as we go through life. However, it is our experiences, who we interact with, and our challenges that we overcome that unlock these gifts. Some retain in our blood and are never awakened. Some develop into personality, as you see. I do not think it could be very different between an infant and your kind in that regard. You all have gifts. Some are accepted, and some are not.
As Charles looks at you for a very long time, almost there's almost the tentacles are almost confused, and you get a feeling it's almost incredulity on that.
Well, you see, when you look at DNA,
as Charles will after a very long time will say, "You truly believe that?"
I know it to be true. We have a few writings within our libraries on the development of beings.
Then let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
This child.
Don't point.
This child. How will he be defined in the eyes of those that see him? Those that do not know him, or at least do not know him personally. He will be known as either the child of a god or a heretic's spawn. I do not know how your religious types think.
Well, I cannot say for sure what will be in our futures. All I can say is that as a parent, my job is to give my child the tools to deal with what they can and the space to develop themselves in whatever way is right for them.
If that is the role of a parent, I will not argue. I am not an expert. But what I am an expert in is being labeled for something outside of my control. And believe me, your child will never escape that label. It will define who they are to other people.
Maybe so, but if they have friends such as you, then they have examples to learn from.
You would have him learn from my example.
Why
A
not?
failure who has done nothing but cause further chaos wherever they have gone.
Ashal, what I say to you might be grating. I know that upon many, I am extremely irksome. It is part of the gift that I am mother to all. But it is also part of that role that causes resistance in some relationships, as is natural. So, to what I say to you, I say, as a mother, I sense a great, vast ocean of potential within you. And I will do whatever I can to help you realize that potential. I see within you a good person.
Yes, and the other person who saw that potential now lies dead in the castle.
When he says that, when they say that, Ocean, there's a little spike in the back of your brain. Feels good.
Oh god, that's frigging. I've forgotten her name because we've been saying Lafura so often. I've forgotten the frigging spider goddess's name now.
Ithrith.
Ivrith, yeah.
Lady Ivrith.
Ivrith's getting
It
to
might
you.
be a disgusting realization, maybe a call from the void sort of thing, where you're like, can't believe I felt that, but there it is.
Ashal will, like, if you don't say anything to that, Ashal will pause for a while and then just I do not mean to imply that his death was not a good thing, but and we'll break the mind link and we'll float away.
I think we're talking like.
Yeah, but the mind, Ashal hadn't
Yeah.
dropped the mind link, even though we were talking physically. But Ashal would break the mind link at that point and float away, like just to the entrance of the cave, and would just hover there, doing the equivalent with like arms crossed and just sort of thing.
The baby is a little upset.
No, baby.
Not like full on crying, because it's an elf baby and they're a lot quieter, but a little bit like.
Oh no,
So-
that makes me very upset. I'm going to just like. I know you should never go to bed after like without clearing the air, but I think
I think it's
that
going
is
to
enough clearing for one night.
I think it's going to take more than one night to clear the air here.
Yeah.
I think it's going to take many nights.
Bed down the baby. Also, Oshun can't speak from a perspective before like she's sure of how she feels, because gotta know yourself before you say things to impressionable people who are around you.
Fair.
You can hunker down to.
Can I
sleep
have my
and
health
meditate.
back?
Yes,
Yes,
we would have got
if you
that
take a
back,
long
yeah.
rest, you can heal that radiant damage.
Unless the voice wants to keep just going. "Bleh."
Well, every time you touch the thing that you left on your belt, it is going to hurt. At least
Oh,
until
God,
it
you
stops,
Voice.
which it might stop at some point. You don't know.
Yeah, but we know that gods suck.
Yes. Oh, yes. Ashral is very aware that gods suck. That's what they've been trying to tell you half of this campaign.
Yeah, but what Ashal doesn't know is that Oshun also thinks that gods suck.
Fair.
Anything you want to do during the night, Ashal?
Die.
Ashal would
Murder.
no, depending on, I don't know, Ashal would just be looking out over the forest and just continuing just to turn the locket in their hands.
You go back in time. Everything's right.
Everything's okay.
No.
That's chapter 5.
And like obviously discontent, they would eventually trance, but it's fitful and painful.
The next day brings more traveling. It's.
How do I talk to my emo son?
I'm sure there's
I
books
don't know how
about it.
to relate to him.
I think actually, like while they were traveling, like Ashal probably leading the way a bit, knows the area a bit
Definitely.
better. Without turning round, you would like after a couple of hours of traveling, Ashal would. I have been working on a spell that might be able to heal your eyes, you know. If you wish, I can attempt it on you. And, well, I also still have a scroll that would allow you to teleport to Cinnabelle. You are welcome to take it and leave if you wish. She would offer you protection and succor, no doubt.
Please don't say the word sucker with Cinnabelle. Oshun will say, That's such a gift. Thank you. I will gladly accept the healing. However, I will continue to relay messages to Cinnabelle. It is very considerate of you. Thank you, Ashal. I'm not sure if I can get her out straight away, or if she's in danger as of yet. But I want to see this through with you. Unless you'd like me to go.
There is silence for probably several minutes of traveling.
Ocean's probably used to this.
Yeah. And eventually, as Shao was saying, why, though? You have someone to return to, someone who will shelter you. You could forget everything that has happened since we left Narashiro. Why accompanying me on a mission to a dead city that would have been difficult to investigate with the power of two nations at our backs, let alone just the pair of us?
I do worry for Cinnabelle. And more than anything, I want her to be safe. But Cinnabelle's very competent. She's been through a lot already. She can take care of herself, and if she needs me, she will contact me.
I do not doubt Cinnabelle's competency. In fact, that is precisely why I am offering you the teleport.
Yes, I'm the squishy one. Right now, I'm needed.
So be it. Be it on your head. When we next camp, I will see if what I have devised of this magic is enough to heal your eyes, or if it is still insufficient. That is the least I can do after costing you them.
You did not cost me anything. Much like what you choose to do for me, it was a gift. And how long have you been working on this?
Since it happened. Admittedly, other things have taken priority at times. It is why I have not been quicker in devising it, but when I had a moment, I would study the memories of that individual left and work on my own theories. I believe I have the capacity to heal the eyes. It is just if there is any force blocking it based on what on the ritual Cinnabelle used.
That's exactly why I'm here. If there wasn't this gift that you have, this capacity to learn and better yourself and move naturally towards goodness, I would not be here. And Ashal, thank you.
Ashal will go quiet at that.
Okay, and you keep traveling for a little while. The area you're traveling through has these big pools that have formed of the heavy water. and there are large animals that hover above them. Giant crane flies called water wives by most. Oh yeah, they're nasty, but they just want to drink. They just drink the water, and like the
They
little
just chill.
plankton's in there.
Horrible
They just chill
faces.
with a horrible faces, gangly bodies, and a loud buzz.
So what I'm hearing here is they are the wildlife equivalent of Ashal.
I'm sure Ashal can see a lot in common, and they're common to this area in which Ashal has hidden within for most of their
looks
life.
at it, it's like, brother.
Why can I not be you, not unburdened by these thoughts?
Ashal just writes poetry to themselves.
Just try to learn the polymorph spell and
Soon, brethren. Oh, to join the ranks of the fly. I care not but to drink the limpid pools.
It's entirely possible. I mean, Ashal hasn't taken a point in Bard yet, but it's a spellcasting class, so
yeah.
it's possible.
And any spellcasting class I can use intelligence for, so
I want to steal.
wanna steal.
The they are really the only wildlife you see around. This is a fairly quiet area, because Ashal knows most of the things that live out here are big nasties. But you have been not seen, or at least accosted by any big nasties, other than depression.
The biggest nasty of all.
Yeah. When they are settling down to camp for
Yep.
that night, Ashal would float over to Ocean.
Ashal.
Do I have your permission to attempt to hear your eyes?
Yes, why not give it a good old go? I'm so excited to once again have things near my eyes.
Bend down.
Can I sit?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Ashal will, like, you see the shadows cast by the blue light deepening and getting slightly bigger. You recognize it as the power that Ashal has wielded since the tomb, whatever it was called, the Fanged Asylum.
Fanged Asylum.
Then there would be like you almost see like the essence pooling around Ashal and sort of pulling almost off them as Ashal sort of holds their hands in front of your eyes, and it makes its way in towards your eyes. And I will attempt to cast Lesser Restoration and see if that fixes anything or not.
I would say, especially the way that Ashal has learned this spell, that it does. The shadow pooling around Ashal's gnarled, long fingertips coalesce into beads of dark that fill Ocean's empty eye sockets atop her eyebrow ridge. It is probably quite the sensation, feeling your senses deepen
tears.
further. What was that?
I want blood tears.
Oh yeah, you can have some blood tears. It's definitely because the wires are being reattached inside your eyes. It doesn't really
It feels
hurt.
good but strange.
Yeah.
And then there's a weird connecting feeling.
And then you see deeper. The shadows are less dark. The expanse around you that you can see from the mouth of another cave that Ashal has found you could see so much further, especially even into seeing the stars you could not see above on the cavern roof again.
Ashal, you've done it, Ashal. Ashal, you've done it.
Ashal would float away a foot or two and would
Don't
turn
come out of
around
hugging range.
and would actually turn away from you and would say, like, you may think it is a gift. It was my folly that cost you them to begin with. You might think that I was turned to stone because I could have dealt with that other ways. I chose to attempt to steal that power, and in the ensuing fight, I turned to stone. It would have been poetic justice for you to leave me as that.
Ashal, have you not watched horror thriller movie The Gift?
What?
Ashal, what have you learned from that experience?
Not to get turned to stone next time.
Perhaps to guard your life more cautiously. To have more respect for yourself and the life that you live. To rely on your friends more. No matter what, our mistakes in the past are gifts to our future, should we choose to accept them and learn from them. And you have learned from this. Look at everything that you've done since then. You've reconstructed my eyes from nothing. That is an intensely invaluable gift that you've given me. Thank you. If you can focus on this success, can you feel it? You've done it, Ashal. Everything you've worked for, it's come to pass.
I was turned to stone as punishment for seeking out power, and I obtained power to rectify that mistake. If that is a lesson to be learned, it is a strange one.
That was not what happened when I was there. We lacked the tools at that moment to cope with that crisis. We were not yet as closely knit as we were. But anyway, it's in the past. You've done well.
I hope that Rangathurf will reveal secrets I can learn, more power I can gain to rectify my other mistakes.
Good night, Ashal.
Good night.
Was that the baby?
Yes.
Alright.
This is what I've wanted Ashun to do since, like, the first few knocks to Ashal's confidence. Like, I don't want to fix Ashal. Ashal is fine. I just want to soothe the Shal's foundations into a bit more stability. That's all I need. That's all I need.
Well, there's still a couple of big topics to be broached, but
Okay. So you are traveling towards Rangafuth. Yes. You are making the curve southwards. Okay.
Trying to make sure that we don't encounter people.
yes, and At least other than
orcs or anything else.
At least other than like as Charles is probably familiar enough that they would probably, as required, seek out other outcasts, because I imagine there are like Grawnliak in these places and other oddities like that Ashal would maybe even be vaguely acquainted with, in the sense of this is somewhere I can go to potentially get a meal or get shelter or something.
Your LARPing group.
There are. The first you would come across within this region, when you kind of reach the more wild expanses on the side of these caverns, would be a colony of undergoblins that you are vaguely familiar with. Who
Gobbos.
have no issues with accepting extra people if they have the extra food.
I don't think Oshun's been around Gobbos.
Very briefly, Chance, who was different.
Oh, Chance!
But these undergoblins you meet are similar in some ways, with kind of a lilac purple skin, but very many of them they just have just blank eyes. Very quickly you realize that they're almost entirely blind. They're like legally blind. Which is zero.
Do they have tiny seeing eye dogs?
There are
Underrealm doggos.
big
for the
old
Gobbos.
big grub worms with these big mouths that are occasionally around them. It seems that you are eating one of them around the fire. You have a chunk, like a big kind of perfectly round hunk of meat with like a bone in the middle. And then you get like a slice of it.
Yeah.
I refuse. I'm eating a mushroom.
Ashal would probably like exchange some foodstuffs that they gathered on the way for like a sip from one of the goblins, and
Yeah.
Do any of them have clothes that Oshun might begin to like layer on her spring shit?
They are small size. Oshun is large size.
Like, I'm thinking about cloaks, like blankets, might be able to... Yeah.
No.
Oshun's gonna glance and just be like...
It's gonna get mighty cold for Oshun in her silk leotard very soon. The cold is biting, and that would be one of the things that the undergoblins kind of mentioned, because they speak mostly their own language, but there's some goblin like, oh, it's when you're leaving, there would be the cold's coming, Ashal. Cold's coming.
Ashal would like nod as they're leaving, and I think like at the as they're traveling, like the next time they camp on their own, Ashal would go off probably to collect firewood again, and would return. They like Ashal never got rid of their original very ratty robes, and Ashal would reappear wearing those ratty robes again, and would just basically throw the fine robes that they'd got in Abanar I think we actually got them even in Narashiro before we left for Abanar, and would throw them to Oshun.
Crop top.
It does count as leather armor. Yeah, you could wear it as a crop top. It would take some adjusting. And also, Ashal, the individual who made those robes for you many years ago is in the area, if you would wish to seek them.
I think firstly Ashal would throw that at Oshun and say, they will not be perfect for you, but they might help keep the chill off at least.
Oshun will thank you and hulk out of the sleeves. Now they're like arm warmers, and like
I would imagine that outfit had a lot of like buttoned refittings, because Ashal is so thin. So it's one of those things that you can kind of unbutton it and then bind it with string. So it's like hot. It kind of it's more effective as armor than clothing, but that's fine.
Yeah. As long as we like incorporate the baby.
If you wish to, the individual who first made these robes for me is in the area.
Yes, I've been asking these goblins to tell me embarrassing childhood stories of yours.
You are already aware that I did not have childhood.
The period after your consciousness first awakened, where you were more attuned to making mistakes of the fashion variety.
I was not here during the earliest years after
Oh,
mine.
damn it.
But my point being that if you wish for something warm for the winter, we might want to seek them out. At your discretion.
That sounds like a plan. By your leave.
So be it.
Do you need anything else from the area? Brains?
I always need brains, but nothing comes to mind. We might need to gather things for your clothing, but I do not know what they would need for this.
All right. Let's do it.
You can head towards this tailorous hag, finding
I like a tailorous hag.
it really does look like a hag's hut around this area. Approaching you, sense the familiar smell of a Grornliak, the smell of rotten flesh and death, and all of that.
Ian's favourite characters.
Yeah, there's definitely an old lady Grornliak that helped give Ashal some robes at some point. And
Mask.
the
Something we got out of storage.
Oh shit!
From when I lived in Japan.
You're ready to play a Grornliak.
Ready to play a Grornliak.
It doesn't really fit Ian's face, which is totally fitting because none of the Grornliak's masks fit anyway. You can approach the Grornliak's hut, the Grornliak being named Molder, and she is within. You can hear the click-clacking of mechanical sewing machines working, multiple. When you enter within, this hut is barely the big enough size for Mulder. She's grown since you last saw her, even more bloated.
I see you've shed a few skins. You're looking well.
She's definitely enlarged some degrees, but of course Grornliak are large-sized creatures. Grornliak being, for those who don't remember, a race of people who are vaguely humanoid on the top half, but giant grubs on the bottom half. Mulder actually has a few sets of very kind of loose limbs that are working on other sewing machines. And she is like the able sister in the back of the shop, like...
We have to keep talking to her to get special patterns and dialogue.
And she's working away. Her mask, for all Grornliak wear masks, is a sort of humanoid face, but there are 5 eyes in a crescent circle on it. Each of them kind of a diamond shape. And you can kind of... You can hear her move. When a Grornliak shifts, the kind of loose blubber of their bodies realigns into different places, and there's a creaking sound from the building that
Sounds
isn't
like a
quite
Tuesday.
fitting. It is, yeah. Sounds like I have to tackle Tuesday this week. Mulder will leer down and be like, Ashal?
As I live and breathe.
A pleasure. And company. And a little one. The baby is very nauseated by being in the presence of a Gornliak. You
like
two
such an
are like
awkward
aware enough to
thing.
understand. The baby doesn't know what's going on. It smells gross here. Baby is like feeling sick. And then all the while she's still like on the sewing machines.
Yes. It has been a while, Mulder. We find ourselves in the wilds for the coming months, and my companion here does not have suitably thick clothing.
Oshun, very good to meet you, Mulder. Fashion of Narashiro, I'm afraid. Not always most practical.
Those elves know more how to outfit their bedroom slaves than they do their wanderers for winter.
Not a great many wanderers of our stature.
Yes, I can outfit something for you, dearie. I think that would be perfectly fine.
Wonderful. And I really, really want a fuzzy wrap that's like woolen or something or hide, and then like got a fluffy inside for the baby.
Yeah, it would be.
Little sockies.
It would be like she clearly exists via like buying monster hides and then refitting them to things. So some kind of woolly entity that is down in these caves, which isn't very. There's not that.
Mammoth.
It might be a mammoth. You haven't really seen any
would be a
woolly
spider
creatures
mammoth.
ever.
Spider mammoth, that's an interesting one.
Clings to the ceiling and goes.
Oh, that is the cutest image.
You've a very strange definition of cute.
Regardless
Spider-Man.
what the fur is, it's very well treated by Mulder, and she can, extra make sure it fits you and your armor. You do have armor now, of course, Ocean, and give you this big winter cloak made of fur and kind of patchwork of other things.
One metal shoulder thing. Like a big shoulder thing, and then just like the cloak and the furs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Fitted to the right size, for she is also just as big.
We high five.
It's sticky. Somehow the coat she's made, completely clean. Everything else, grimy.
I once high-fived someone who had some kind of skin thing.
Was it me?
And she was the loveliest person ever, but it was very, very wet. And I don't know why it was wet, and it made me very surprised.
Probably
But she was-
oilatum on them.
Mystery. Yay! How much do I owe you? Oh lord, how much do I have?
I will accept any gift you wish
take
to
a baby?
give. There is a slight slurping noise from behind the mask.
No. I have incense. I don't know why I have incense.
You're a cleric.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when have I ever used it?
Well, it's more of like a, I suppose it's more of a roleplay thing, isn't it? It's one of the starter packs.
I've got 5 sticks of incense, so I can give like however many, and money. I also have money.
I was going to say, if you got no money.
I don't know if we trade this deep in the woods or just like.
Yeah, good question. I could.
Don't give any of your sinister things.
No, I was going to give her.
I have 35 gold.
I was going to offer her a poison craft tome. It seems like a fitting thing in this sort of environment.
Always very useful. Oh, yes. This is brilliant. Wondrous. A fine gift
Charlotte, you must allow me to
indeed.
pay you back.
Thank you, Mulder, for...
Yes, thank you.
Ashal would not extend this stay any longer than necessary.
No. Exactly. You
You
can
can
head out.
taste the smell molecules on your
Oh,
little
yes.
tentacly bits.
Uh,
Trying to straighten out your tentacles to be polite, like every time they're like, you do not wish to stay or camp out by the lakes?
the lakes, perhaps, for a night. The water wives are pleasant to look at in comparison to some other things.
As long as they don't come and investigate us while we sleep.
No. They are accustomed to folk like us passing by.
I must insist on getting wood this time. Here, look after the gift. I'll be right back.
Like, if you hand the baby to Ashal will, like, hold Morgan.
Drop
Then
it!
as soon as you're out of sight, will, like, put the baby down and, like, sit next to it rather than holding it themselves.
A Shal would be the kind of parent to sit down next to a child and just be like, this is spending time together.
That's what I do when babysitting before the baby has, humanity. Like,
Did you know that babies understand gravity from birth? They have innate knowledge.
I mean, it's
And
in
when
the ears,
things
isn't
go
it?
strange in the world, they stare at it intently because it's not supposed to happen. How crazy is that?
That
It's
is
puritanical
interesting.
shit about babies being machines that that aren't alive yet, and it's like the people.
Does that mean that
Very
we have
smart people.
an instinctual preparation as humans against gravity manipulating creatures? Like, why have we evolved this? Are we watching out against some kind of Borok Var or something?
Yes.
What's going on? I've been reading
Yes.
Bionicle lore on the toilet recently.
Nice.
It just keeps on going! I think it's a great time for a little break. Speaking of, time for a little break as you all keep heading on southward. So, we'll see you in a sec.
Being followed by spider mammoths.
That's
Of conversation.
Spider mammoths.
homes were burned. Our families displaced or worse. We needed a hero. She was our hero.
We were oppressed. Pressed to our limits. Beaten and exhausted. When we had no champion, he became our champion.
And we're back.
Oh.
And we're back in the room. You have gotten some winter garb for Ocean. Ashal does not care. Ashal are you going to take back the fancier leather armor robes, Ashal, or?
Yeah, might as well.
Maybe
like,
don't wear them with as
probably-
much pride.
Yes, and wouldn't be caring about getting them a bit mucky as they're bound to get during this travel.
Yep.
But yeah, gonna put them back on.
I think Oshun would pick up the hem of your robe and keep it out of some of the mud.
I mean, to be fair, Ashal does float a good couple of feet off the floor at least,
Couple
so
of feet
it's
then.
probably not dragging the mud. It's probably like branches and stuff that are
Then a
that are
branch
causing
or
trouble.
so. I'll untangle you. I'll untangle you from a branch. A shawl in your nice clothes.
There is no need for them anymore, at least not in.
There is no need for them anymore.
Oh, I'm waiting for that moment. Global nudists rise up.
Sazzo.
A shawl returns to the wild, just completely nude, but not even like prancing through. You just float. Ah.
There probably are Ebamari nudists out there somewhere.
That'd be very funny. None of this weird gender presentation stuff. We go back to basics, the way parasitic nature entails.
Yep. Your journey
Yeah.
Talk if you've got anything to talk about.
We are, yes, we are passing the Lake of Wrath.
The Lake
Soon.
of Wrath.
We will be hitting the
Oops.
narrowest point. Do I know where the origin of the name of the origin of the name Lake of Wrath?
No,
Does
but it's
Ollie
not.
know?
It's not W Wrath. It's R Wrath. It's
Yes,
not
Wrath.
a wrathful place, but it
Oh,
is
yeah.
a large underwater portion of the Underrealm. There are species that live there. But yes, I was gonna say that in the next, week or so of travel, you would be passing it. So you're on the same wavelength as me.
Oshun will take a net, catch an insect, and try and sell it to the underground raccoon.
Once we are past the lake in a week or so, it will be the narrow pass into Greater Evimaro.
If I take one more step, it'll be the farthest.
It'll be
away
the
from
closest
home
I've ever been to home.
ever been.
I cannot imagine that there would be Evimaro patrols and peoples this far out, but there are outlying villages in Greater Evimaro once we get past the pass, as it were. So, be on guard.
I'm not sure you've ever told me why it is that you avoid your kin. You do not have to say anything.
There is not a great deal to say. You are familiar with my natural magic of the storms that blight this realm. I suppose you would call it the day of my birth, the day that I hatched from the being
skull.
that I once was. I do not know how you would phrase it in your tongue. There is a unique word in our tongue for it. It does not translate.
What is that word? Beautiful, it's poetry. You just wipe your mouth.
Well, you probably needed to
Making
after that.
noise
Yeah.
brought up a lot of phlegm in my throat.
It's a reason why you need to be very phlegmy to speak deep speech with a tongue. Let's just say that.
Oshun just wipes her face. Beautiful.
I came to be under the auspices of a great storm. This magic has been part of me since the day I came into being. You do not know my culture very well, but suffice it to say that the Evimari respect arcane magic. They do not respect elemental, natural magic. It is a curse. I spent 20 or so years desperately trying to learn magic the arcane way, to garner some modicum of respect, to take my place in the song. Failure after failure after failure. Eventually, it grew too much. I was no better off than the day I began. And the stares and the conversations I was not privy to with my kin grew too much. I fled. I do not know how many years I spent in the wilds before I came back at Ultua's call. Sometimes I would travel to Evimaro. I survived by picking up bounties, taking odd jobs, bargaining with those in the wilds like Mulder and those goblins. But yes, it is why I advise, or why I doubt you when you comment on your child. He is marked in a similar way that I am. He will be fortunate if his people accept him. And even if he is, he will still be different from them.
I'm sorry, Ashar. That much rejection, I can't even imagine what it would have done. For such gifts to be rejected sounds extremely painful and lonely. But still, even in your telling of the tale, you've made so many connections, so many acquaintances, so many friends that you wouldn't have had you not been forced to look beyond the borders. I can see how what seems like a curse can be a great gift.
If I had my way, I would be rid of it.
So do all who live to see such times.
There it is, everyone! There it is!
But you know, your tale reminds me of something I once heard. Have you heard of the groups of people who chart the moss spawns on the cavernous roofs of certain caves? Some people have charted them, and that leads us to more insight into our realm, while others choose to read their fortunes in them. It seems like what you have, it's been misinterpreted. Sure, these people can get great deals of comfort from reading their lives and their fates into twinkling spores above their heads. But to those who can read it precisely, it's just the gift of more information into our realm.
Rakath said not dissimilar things. I had almost forgotten his words with everything that happened. I do not. I would still be rid of it if I could, but I do not hate it as much as I once did. And I have found other paths that I can learn, but I remain a pariah to my own people. And that, I feel we are actually somewhat similar.
Yeah. Yes. But that is my gift. Even though I have been a pariah in Narshiro and several other realms, the gift to empathize and to see clearly the people around me and to automatically love them half the work is done.
Empathy does not seem like a trait that would get you far or get you respected in Narashiro.
I'm not seeking to go far or to garner respect. I am simply following the path of the gift that I've been given. You are as well, in your own way, seeking information, fulfilling what it is you are placed here to do.
Perhaps for all the good it's done me. For all the good it's done this realm.
Okay. Ian was right. They're traveling by the Lake of Wrath. Would you be close-ish or distant? Because pretty much wherever you're at, you can see the water mass. It's up to you, guys, as a party, when the time is right to decide.
Mulder surfing on the Lake of Wrath?
Well, you can see things on the lake. It kind of appears as like a... It's interesting, the aether light twinkles down, so you can... It almost looks like a lake of starlight in the right angles. But there are little boats, some very rough-hewn, some more metallic. There are stalagmites and stalactites that reach in and out of the Lake of Wrath, and supposedly settlements upon the water and below the water.
What?
While you are traveling...
Oh my god, Ollie, you can't tease me like that!
It's mermaid time.
Deep mermaids. They already exist.
I think as Charles...
Looks like an anglerfish. Looks like an anglerfish.
Yes!
And then there's like canonically male anglerfish that's teeny.
That are just tiny little gonads.
I think that Ashal would probably take a degree of comfort from the lake, actually. And this is totally not just Ian being like, fish!
He's just like, when will my reflection show who I am?
But yeah, would probably guide them quite relatively close to the lake.
Good. While you are traveling beside the lake, at one point, the first little fleck of cold season snow lands on one of Ocean's little pedipalps. And from then on, the rain becomes a gentle snow. Many of the plant life around here, almost all fungal, starts to kind of shift into their more wintry forms. Things, you can almost see it happen as you're traveling, and whatnot. And the environment starts to change into wintertime.
We'll do more mental talking.
No. I want to lose my voice so I have an excuse not to go into work tomorrow. What? I didn't say that. In case anyone is watching.
Yeah, got you some fucking lemsip.
Sorry, it just started snowing and the
I'm just
plants
describing. If you have things you want to talk about, you can.
I'm gonna walk the baby and let them like crouch down and poke an unsuspecting plant.
Oh, and the plant goes like,
no.
and then into the ground.
Exactly.
Literally like something out of a Stormlight archive.
Turn and laugh to a Charl at Bear's wonderment.
Baby
And
starts
Charl is
pulling
just sort of-
mycelial grass from the ground.
Stop that! Stop it!
And Charlotte is just looking on in bemusement.
Aw.
I think as Charles would at a camp probably like after like a couple of days after it first started snowing, as Charles would broach the topic of What? I know what I am seeking here, or at least I know, I hope, when I know what I hope to find. I suppose I would know what you wish to find. If it is simply following me for some bizarre reason I cannot truly fathom, do you still hope to put an end to LoFiJoeToons?
Absolutely. I hope to learn, find anything that can help us, assist you, come to know some way that we might leave the world in a better way than which we found it. Predominantly, I'm simply following the path beneath my feet and trusting that the way forward is already before us, before me.
Ollie, how much of like the details of Rangerfurth and its destruction would Ashal actually know? Other than
Yeah, I think we've gone over it a little bit before. It was destroyed in some kind of fell event that before that, I mean, you would have been around before that. Rangerfurth was known as being a particularly violent and hungry settlement. So a lot of Ebamaro, the much more peaceful and philosophical Ebamari, were like, well, probably serves them right. There actually isn't a lot of like, there's mourning, but it's that kind of like, well, we wanted to take a different route as a society anyway, and this is actually a really good route for that. So it kind of pushed more peace for Ebamaro while kind of being like, we don't really care what happened. Largely. You do know a little bit more from... Zoe was right, you met Drea. Drea was there when you were traveling right at the start of the campaign, like session 1 or 2. Drea was there researching death. It is a place of death. That much is known. And that's why Drea Mori from the House of Death was very much interested.
right.
I wonder if we will see Drea again. We may.
Perhaps if she is done poking at Tumulus.
More friends that you made. Yet more friends in your future.
I feel like I should emphasize Rangerfurth is probably... We are walking into a very dangerous place. This is not a path to tread idly.
My footsteps are too heavy to ever be idle.
It was already a violent place before it was destroyed, and I fear now that it is probably only more so. But if your intent, then...
Well, even less of a reason to leave you on your own. Ashal, I've been trying to find the opportune moment to say this, and nothing organically will present itself, so I will simply come out and say it. I'm sorry that I took a great friend and ally from you.
Ashal looks at you for... Again, it's a good couple of minutes, and then just looks off into the distance, and... You made the right choice.
There is no right or wrong choice when it comes to the end of people's lives. There is simply the consequences.
He had proven himself craven, and in the critical moment I once again proved myself weak.
It is not weak to trust your friends.
I was already reaching into my pocket, you know. I intended to pull out the soul gem of the concubine. I had intended to attempt to absorb its power for
And
my
become
own.
sexy.
In that moment, Bogdan instructed me, requested of me to call Lathura. In my moment of weakness, in my moment of lack of trust in our abilities, I agreed. It was only after, as I fell from the backlash of calling her through that gem, that I realized he had already betrayed us more than more than you would come to betray him. You did the right thing. It is better that Avanar fall into chaos than have a leader on the throne beholden to the very creature that we had tried to take the city to gain power against.
One cannot hang one's entire soul on decisions made in moments of stress. The true test is how we cope with the fallout. And part of that fallout is the loss of a friend. And for that, I am sorry.
He placed his faith in me. No one has done that. And no matter what you say and what you do, or what you have done, for all your kind words, you have never shown faith in the way he did. He would have had me as his advisor. He did. He valued my word. And I am not saying that you are not kind in your own way, but
As mother of many children, I cannot have favorites. At least, not that the children can know of. You have my faith, Ajal. You always have.
he had faith in me. He probably had faith that even as he fell, I would bring him back up. And I chose. You made me choose. You made me choose between you and him. I believe you did the right thing, but we did the right thing. As I say, he had proven himself craven. He had betrayed us. He would ally himself, or at least owe favors to the very creature we set out to destroy. That could not be. But by the hells does it not pain me that I had to leave him dying on the ground. That I had to choose the person who slit the throat of the one who showed faith in me.
Are you angry?
I am beyond anger. I do not know what I feel. It is a war of resentment and acceptance. You are a being of feeling. I am a being of rationality. That does not place either of us necessarily better, but it is difficult to equate these things. My reason tells me that you did the right thing, and there is no point or purpose to being angry with you.
You will come to know those feelings. You take them and, like a grain of sand in a shell, examine them from all sides, and they will become familiar with you. And when they are familiar, you can let them go as friends. That is the way. And it simply takes practice.
And what of you? Do you regret your choices? Do you feel pleasure in following what is probably your god's proper creed out of betrayal?
There is not much that can be shared with children. There is much that a parent must keep to themselves in order to maintain the health and well-being of the community. I find it difficult to speak on the darker matters that concern myself. It is against my nature, and my nature is the gift. That I've come to fulfill some kind of prophecy. It did not feel... It went against my nature. The decision did not come lightly. I had many doubts. But I will carry the death of one of my own children until I cease to be Oshun. He will be with me always. And I will take what is most fearful, any grain of pleasure that I may have taken from the power of the situation, and I will receive it as a gift. It is the knowledge that will stay with me forever, never to give in.
We miscalculated at the end of the day. We underestimated Skarhane. We put too much faith in Bogdan. Bogdan put too much faith in himself. He put too much faith in At the end of the day, Bogdan proved it is complicated. A ruler must believe they are the right person to rule. Show me a ruler who says they do not believe that they are right to rule, and I will show you a liar. But I believed that Bogdan wanted to rule and felt he was the right person to rule in order to benefit his people, in order to stand against LoFiJoeToons. I believed he was greater than he was. In the end, he proved himself. He wanted the power to rule, the right to rule, was stronger in him than his reasons for wanting that. He felt he deserved it, and he would make a deal with the very being that we sought to cast down to do it.
Ashal, come over here. Come over here a bit away from the fire. Come lie down with me. Come look at this. And Oshun will point to the ceiling distantly of Aether crystals.
Aetherlight, yeah.
Aetherlights. Is Ashal going to lie down?
I think, like, there's definitely a long pause, but would eventually...
Come be weird with your
Like-
mother!
Like sit and then slowly, eventually get into a sort
the
of like
reverse
position.
vampire. I see an Ebamari there. That's the legs. Those are the tentacles. I see one with an axe. I see a crab. See, the ones that curve are like the pincers. And so my future entails an elegant warrior opening dark secrets. What do you see? Don't be a bitch. Don't be a bitch.
I see light produced by magical crystals.
No, come on. See, that one looks like those weird flies. What are they called again?
The
Mother
water wives.
Wives. That's it. So I think in your future, that indicates freedom and lightness of being.
I see.
Yes?
I see.
It's easy, see? if you take the ones that are brightest, those are the ones that connect. And then the ones that are smaller kind of add texture and dimension. So that one might be connected to the one that's just over there. And the middle part might be a current of water. So you have the Ebamari and the crab and the water wife and the current. So lots of water themes. It might be because we're close to the lake. But if we were this civilization that read their fortunes in the spores,
Crystals.
these are in a cave. These are spores.
They are literally crystals.
These are crystals. Maybe that's why it's difficult. I am seeing a lot of movement, transport, freedom.
Where you see freedom and transport, I see homelessness, wandering, unbelonging.
That's why you just got to connect them. It's easy to look into a frightening and unknown future when you can make pictures out of it and choose what it is that you want to see.
The baby tumbles off of Ocean and onto
Oh,
Ashal's
he's
chest.
dead!
The baby explodes. The baby tumbles off of Ocean's chest and onto Ashal's chest as Ashal is laying next to Ocean.
Oh god, as Charles would definitely have like one of those moments of sheer panic where you just flail and like push it off and then like stand and get up and like
And the baby just now is just like blah. It's laughing. That baby loved that. Baby loves any moment of chaos like that.
So that you don't kill this child, can it be more like you sit up and grab its hands and it like lands in your lap or something?
and then very quickly like boom.
Yes, Ashal is sensible enough to not eat the baby, but
Don't eat the baby.
it's not
Well,
far
I know what
off.
spell I'm taking next.
Don't
Catapult.
eat the baby.
Don't eat the baby.
Don't
ba-
eat the baby.
And the baby's just laughing.
He loves you.
I think at that, as Charles would just shake their head and move away opposite side of the fire and just
She's
like
gonna take the baby and be like, soon, baby.
and just sit down and face away from Ocean and the baby. And, yeah, the signal the end of the conversation for that night. I think.
I think Oshun feels a lot lighter after having that conversation. Getting the spider mammoth out of the room.
Aha. You keep on traveling. At this point, the cold season has kicked in. The snows are heavy. The cold wind is heavier. Did you have something you wanted to do, Ian?
No, I was just going to. I put it in chat instead. I'm going to commission you to draw a spider mammoth at some
Oh.
No, Ollie will make it sexy and it'll be weird. It'll be weird.
I do
Stupid,
plenty
sexy
of
spider
body
mammoth.
horror, okay? It's and then you got the people who are attracted to the body horror monsters I draw, and that's, just as it should be. I know my community.
As God intended.
There's a cold wind that comes from the Lake of Wrath, and soon you are past it. This whole journey, it takes a long time. Especially because you're moving stealthily most of the time, when you can. when you are past, like as Charles said, there is a small passway between one cavernous continent to another, towards Greater Ebamaro, and you're traveling through it. And at one point, you've almost entirely been alone, other from, okay, there are creatures that way, we can go this way. On the pathway through, you see a pair of Ebamari. They are wearing armored robes, the armor being a brown chitin, and it covers their faces, their tentacles. And then it has also like glass, and then kind of they're essentially organic hazmat suits.
Don't worry, Ashal. My bountiful hips will shield you.
There is a kind of hissing, wheezing noise coming from them, and the flowing sound of psychic conversation between them, which is almost amplified by what they're wearing. They are looking at something, and one of them even has they're holding something in their hands, and
a Geiger counter.
But all of the technology in Ebamari is organic, so it's like a Geiger counter kind of beetle thing, and it's got many antennae that are wiggling at something. Yeah, but the beetle is also kind of designed to be handheld. It's been bred and designed and gene altered to be handheld.
It has
so
a
it's
little beetle wife. It goes home, hangs up its little.
It's done its job.
Good day.
It's a working beetle. So there are two Ebamari in hazmat suits, one with essentially a Geiger counter, and they're examining something on the wall of this cavern. That is a little hard to see unless you wish to get closer.
They haven't seen us yet, then.
They are very preoccupied. And also their suits do restrict their vision quite a bit.
I think as Charles' immediate instinct would be... Do I recognize, is there... Because you said they were in, particular garb. Is this, do I recognize them as, say, a branch of military?
It's these organic hazmat suits are brought out against any kind of bio or magical hazard. Particularly, you would remember seeing them which went to Goldport when Goldport was infested with a fungal bloom of Ebamaro's creation. It was these people in this kind of outfit that would manage it. It's quite literally like a hazmat team.
Okay.
But it could be disease or magic.
Yeah.
Anything that could have any kind of corrupting influence.
So,
you have probably seen people looking
necessarily-
like that examining you before with a Geiger counter beetle when you were first assimilated.
Yes. So not necessarily warriors, but if they are specialists in magic radiation, then they are probably mages of some description, as most Ebamari are.
Yeah.
Ashal?
All Ebamari have a high degree of self-defense with psychic powers, but
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Quite. And Ashal would definitely pull Oshun into hiding effectively,
a
And,
ditch.
Oh.
and watch them for a few minutes just to determine if they look like they're moving on quickly, if they're hanging around, or...
You can give me a perception or insight check. You'll see different things depending.
Well,
Is it
my
going to
insight
be
is better.
safe for us to proceed?
It looks like they're here for a while. They are examining a thing.
They are not here for us.
But what if there's more of this stuff further in?
We can potentially sneak around them. They are preoccupied.
I am very large, and I have a baby. One that doesn't necessarily cry all the time, but knowing babies...
I can make us both potentially more able to hide.
Okay, let's deal with this bridge.
Okay. So we're sneaking past then.
Sneaky, sneaky.
In
Sure.
that case, I will twin spell an enhance ability for dexterity.
Yay.
Okay.
And attempt to sneak past them.
Both of you do stealth checks with advantage then.
Thank you.
Don't thank until you see what the rolls are.
Well, that'll be my own fault.
17, pretty good. These two hazmat Ebamari are preoccupied, and you can kind of hear them like muffled conversations between them as you
Do
pass.
I get any keywords?
Ooh.
Do I hear
That
any
would
keywords?
be
pass?
that would require hanging around a little bit and
No, not gonna
rolling
risk
a check.
No,
Okay.
I'm not going to risk it then. It was just like if I caught any keywords as I was sneaking past, but no.
You do manage to
just get
sneak
Charlotte
past.
Brown phone noises.
They do not notice you. They are quite a ways away when you actually hear some kind of wet shrieking and then a couple of blasts of arcane magic from them behind you. But you are past it.
Probably not anymore.
Well, if we encounter anything of the like, we'll have to consider physical barriers.
We could wait here, hide,
Kill
wait
them.
for them to pass back, and then see what they were dealing with. It might provide hints and help us look out for it.
We could do that.
Do you want to do that?
I think Ashal is very cautious and likes to know what they're up against. So yeah, I think Ashal they would find somewhere to hide. And
Yeah.
hopefully they will pass us. If they don't come back, then we know there's something nasty back there.
You can give me a another pair of stealth checks.
Advantage again, because it's not.
Yep, there's not time has not passed too much.
Oh, I'm invisible.
It's not much longer. They maybe take another 5-10 minutes. You know what? Exactly 7 before the pair you kind of start floating past and back past you two towards Ebamari, which would allow you. You know, you wait long enough for them to be completely out of sight before. Do you want to go and investigate whatever they were looking at?
Yep.
Yeah.
There
much so.
is on the wall of the cavern what looks like a iron cage, almost like a bird cage, but much larger, enough to store a medium-sized creature. It is blasted open with no kind of door, and all of the metal of it is completely pitch black. You can see the edges of it glowing with silver. There is some kind of trail of slimy fell essence from it, and then just a splatter on the ground of assumedly whatever they shot with magic. It's just returned to fell goo.
That's very interesting. Is the cage like something of a nature that Ashal would recognize as like a particular type of containment cage, or is it something unfamiliar?
You can give me an Arcana check.
I have insight and religion that are really my good things. Insight might be okay.
This is not of Ebamari make. It appears to have been made in the Shadow Plane.
I thought as much.
It almost looks as if something had used this to translocate between planes. This, what splattered on the ground, probably wasn't the thing that used it to travel.
What?
It's probably just a hitchhiker. Maybe some dregs of shadow that lingered within it. Something or someone has translocated planes here, using this as a less of a boat, more of a life pod.
Was Lefura's magic and Lefura's shadow essence distinct to other like, could I tell the difference between it and other fel magic?
It was distinctly different. There is something ashen about Lethura's spell casting that you haven't been able to place. It's different. Now, of course, you are aware, as there are potentially infinite cultures and magics on this plane. Who knows how many different magics and forms of life there could be on the Fel plane. But this is not the same ash and shadow combined that Lethura uses.
Yes, that's what I thought.
What is this? Is this from the city that we're going to?
Not impossible. It is of Uhaga, the Fel plane.
Bless you.
Where Lefura returned from, and also the power that now resides in Rangerfurth. This is not of Lefura. Her magic is distinct.
Oh, that's a good thing, I suppose.
Yes, but this is... This teleportation scroll to Cinnabel.
Yes?
Imagine that you had a door that you could open and step through to Cinnabel.
That you could ride on, but no one else could ride on it with you. Even if you're in love with that person, you have to kick them off so that they...
No. More just a door that you could step through to get to Cinnabel.
Okay.
That is more or less what this is. I do not think it is a single-use creation, although whether it could be used to travel back from here to Uhaga, it would require more investigation. It may be a one-way ticket that could be used if it could somehow be returned to the... Anyway, I am digressing. This thing, he points at the splatter, that was not whatever used this to cross.
It wasn't?
Oh, it came via this thing, but that is not a being of power enough to create or use something like this.
I'm struggling to wrap my...
Put simply,
Fascinating.
this is evidence of an incursion from Uhaga. Probably a powerful being. Perhaps not on the level of Lefura, but certainly not the sort of being that we would want to encounter unawares.
Well, as long as it's not an infestation or anything catching.
Well, the danger is that with the Fanged Asylum, with Rangerfurth, with Lefura, the barriers between the planes might be weakening. Manifestation zones, slip spaces might become more common. Powerful entities from Uhaga might be able to cross those boundaries easier.
So we have to deal with this as soon as possible. Or assist in dealing with it.
Probably. And we should be on our guard if this might become more common the closer we get to areas of particular fel leakage, such as Rangerfurth. We might encounter many more beings that have crossed over like this. That is a worst case scenario, but it's something we should be wary of.
If you feel comfortable re-establishing mental contact so that we have an instantaneous knowledge of whether someone is affected by something, well, it's not necessary at this moment. But maybe when we're in the city.
Yes, give me time. I am not prepared yet.
As much time as you need, of course.
But you are right that at least when we approach Rangathurth proper, I should re-establish it. Yes.
Only if you're comfortable.
Well, it would not do to endanger both of our lives over my feelings. I have caused enough issues already with my weakness. But yes, we should continue, but be on our guard. This is likely the furthest extremity it could reach. Might get worse as we get closer.
Okay. And the pair of you can travel further southward. Soon you will be passing by Ebermaro. Luckily, if you remember all the way back at the start of this campaign, I described it's kind of in a curve. It's in like a little croissant shape. So you would be passing it, but almost on the cliffside, right? So stealth would be possible. But that and maybe some other things, I think, should probably wait until next time.
Aww. I'm just looking at the map and I'm like, yeah.
Yes, you're going to explore the big black splotch on the map. The big area
Not the
that's
little
clearly
appendix.
damaged.
That was one of the options that Oakshire originally offered when we took our quest to investigate the dusts, I believe.
I can actually
How
show what I
different
mean.
things may have been.
Yeah, you are like here, and you're heading.
We're having a very Lord
Here.
of the Rings walking session. There's
Yeah,
lots of
I mean, this is one of those things where you were here. You know, you would have traveled down this way for months. This, like, D&D wise, it's like, oh, don't worry about it. It's like, it feels like a couple of days. But in universe, that was a really long way, and you were going at half speed for stealth. So, realistically, it's
crazy.
probably nearly the end of the cold season by the time you actually get here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a long
lot
way.
of stuff could have happened in that time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the conversations were had.
Yes, that's exactly that. We will, of course, be back next time, and like I mentioned, we will at some point have a special guest. Probably not next week, maybe the week beyond that.
Someone new we can ensnare for way longer than they intended.
Someone new for the polycule, which is incredibly disconnected right now due to just all the exiles. Why don't you two talk a little bit about what you got going on? There's like, it's just us.
Yeah.
Such a cozy session.
Yeah. I'm Ian. I am very much enjoying D&D in all its forms at the moment, mostly thanks to Ollie, or entirely thanks to Ollie. I've not got any games outside of that going on.
You
at the
better.
moment. So, yeah, we've got this campaign has just started a new chapter, which is really interesting, and I'm getting to explore Rangathurth, which relates back to something that the Monday game did many years ago.
Before we recorded it, yeah.
Yeah, long time ago, and
Wow.
I still quote occasionally as one of the big moments of my entire D&D career.
Butterface.
Although in my defense, I was so
Whoops.
new then, and I was basically deferring to the other two party members. But yeah,
It's also, looking back, a little goofy, but I really like what's kind of grown in canon from it, so it's all good.
yeah. I'm hoping that maybe this chapter, this season, Shah will not get screwed over by dice rolls at the last. because Ashal's trying their dang best, and they deserve good things to happen
Charles
to
is
them.
Such a good person.
But yeah, it's very interesting where this will go because I don't have a slightest clue how we're going to stand up to Lefura and
It's a Charles
people.
chapter.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
true. You had
I want
Oshun's
Oshun
and
to go to
Bogdan's,
the
now a
surface.
Charles.
Just be a big lady and be like, hello.
I get
Yeah,
smited instantly.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In addition to this, there is a bi-weekly Tuesday game of Totally Not Pokemon TM. That is lovely. I enjoy playing that so much.
Yeah.
Yesterday was a joy.
I listened to it
This
as I go
session
to
is
sleep.
going to be
Yeah.
going live when we close up here, actually.
Yeah, it needs.
Yay.
Yeah, I'll put on Patreon. Yeah.
Perfect time for sleep.
That is a really fun listen. And yeah, it just works really well being bi-weekly. I think it gives us all a bit more energy whenever we come to it, a bit more enthusiasm for it.
It's so the way it works is so good in being. It's a campaign I don't really prep for until like the day of, and then we're there, and then it's chill, and it's a lot of energy, but it's good. It's a good game. It's glad we're doing it.
Relatively proactive party as well, and we're like, I want to go find this or go do this, and it's really nice.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, there is a Monday game which has not happened the last couple of weeks because we
Should be
have
starting
been
next week. Yeah.
we have been prepping for a new Monday game that Ollie has given a slight spoiler for my character already in the Twitch chat. Although it's not really any great secret, but I wouldn't reveal to
It's
anyone
not
if
really
they
a
asked.
secret. It's just very exciting that
Yeah.
I know Ian has wanted to explore.
Yeah, I was almost a
these
bit
things.
hesitant about my Monday game PC because they were in some ways a bit too similar in my mind to Ashal. I was like, should I go with something different? And then I was like, no, I want to explore this. And this is the perfect opportunity.
There are some similarities, but the thing is that you're you know with
It's a very
Jarviskjir,
different
so many
environment.
things you could play the same race and class and have a very different character and very different experience as well.
Exactly.
It's Greed's prosthetic leg. It's alive!
And all of both of those other games are available on Ollie's Patreon for $5 a month, in addition to various artings and other fun stuff. So go give Ollie $5 a month on Patreon if you're not already. They're very good shows to listen to. And you get access to all the backlog of all the Monday games.
Yeah,
And
it's
is
got to be
big
hundreds
at
of
this
hours of
point.
content now if you want to just like
definitely.
background noise to listen to. I recommend if a lot of those Monday games are good if you want to get someone else into the show because they're very beginner friendly.
Particularly Fallow Gem Academy. Is
I was
very
going to say
beginner
Fallow Gem
friendly.
Academy and Waters of
Literally
Tron
a
too,
school.
really.
Yeah,
But
because
Fallow
we had a
Gem
couple of
Academy
beginners,
has
so.
actual in-universe lessons about how magic works and how history is in the world, which is just fun. It was a lot of effort at the time, but it's a fun thing that happened. And this new Monday campaign will take place in a unseen before city.
I'm so hyped! My suggestion!
Yeah! Well, someone else who's made a lot of suggestions on Jarviskjir is Zoe.
It me! My name is Zoe. I'm the head writer for Schism, Immolation of Othenthur, and it's super exciting because Immolation is on Kickstarter right now. So tell your friends, tell your aunt.
Share it with anyone. I shared it with my work colleagues today.
Yeah,
I
but your
put it-
work colleagues like games.
I put it in the but most of them don't. I put it in the Microsoft Teams channel for my work.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, everyone saw that potentially from like the top of the university library right all the way
That
down.
would be really funny. That would be really funny.
It's a really good game that needs
It's so much
your
fun.
help to get funded. We are quite a ways away. If you are thinking of doing it, do it. If you know people who are like, I'm interested, just tell them to like put down like $5-10, because what we need right now for that Kickstarter to succeed is to get picked up by Kickstarter's algorithm, which has not happened for the week or so that we're up. So do those kind of things. I will be painting more Schism miniatures on stream at some point. I've been doing that. It's a really good chance for me to actually tell you about the rules, kind of one-on-one. We have some more stuff actually coming to the Kickstarter, probably, like, in this next week. And yeah, I really hope Schism goes well, because then Zoe will be doing more writing for it. The other sets we have planned explore a lot of really fun things. We'll have miniatures that if you're a fan of this show and all of the other shows, you'll go, I really want that, because it's like that. So all of that is amazing, and hopefully we can get it funded and get it made and get it out there to the people. So
I'm
do
super
that.
excited.
Let Zoe keep her job, otherwise you're out. Alright, and then there's me! Like I basically just said what I'm doing. I have a Saturday show. That's the only thing we haven't really discussed. Saturday at 8 p.m. GMT now is Rock of the North. That is a campaign that's unfurling. Set
It's good fun.
in the region just below Oathensfur, and they might actually be going to Oathensfur soon. So definitely check that out if you are interested. I will be doing more Schism-related streams that are kind of like chill opportunities for me to talk about the game. If you were like, I want to know more, have your questions, come to those. We'll be doing them. And also there'll be other stuff going on as well as and when I can. If you want more information, follow on Twitter, follow on Patreon, and join the Discord if you haven't already. And that's us. We will be back next week, hopefully. And
We'll be
see
getting
you.
to the city.
Yeah.
Super excited.
See you soon.
Bye.